One of my biggest complaints about my car is the antenna. On a Jaguar XK8, it's got this big external antenna that sticks up about 20 feet and totally destroys the lines of the car. What I'm going to try to do is install this antenna, which I got at Radio Shack. All it is, it's a little, it's called a dipole antenna, and it's very flexible. I'm going to try to install it either up under the convertible top in the headliner, or down in the area where the convertible top retracts to when it goes down. So I need this antenna. I also need to link it into I need to link the antenna into this cable here, and then I need this thing right here. This is called a balun, or a matching transformer. What this does, this converts the 300 ohm antenna into the 75 ohm input that's required by the car's radio. And you probably saw these are commonly used on TV antennas when you're plugging the TV antenna into a TV that doesn't have the two little screws. It's just got the cable input. So here I go. First, here in the car, in the back here, this is in the back, and I'm sorry, but I'm zoomed out all the way I can on this camera. This thing right here, it lifts out. It doesn't lift completely out, but it lifts out far enough that I can get underneath it. And I'm thinking about trying to put the antenna down under here. This is actually, that right there is the GPS antenna. So I know that we get signal in here, but I don't know if it's going to be good enough. So this is one of the places I'm going to try to put it. To get the cable back to the trunk where the antenna is over here, let me pull this back again. Back in this corner, I mean the back right corner here. If you pull this out of the way, I can't get my head back in there. If you pull this out of the way, see those wires that go through there? A couple of them are factory wires, but a couple of them I pushed through. And right through there, that goes directly into the trunk, directly above the CD changer and the nav unit and the amplifier. So that's where I'm going to push my wire through. And then I'm just going to make up a connection at the existing antenna connector for the antenna. But here I go. Okay, the first thing I did, I cut off the ends of one of the ends of my piece of cable, and on the end here that I cut off, I pushed the wire back, or the braid back that's on the outside, and then that center conductor that slips right into the antenna connector. Which back here's the antenna and the antenna connector. They were right back in there. I already pulled them apart. So pulled them apart, and this is the part that goes back up to the head unit. So this right here will fit right into that center hole, and I already checked it. It's good and snug. So what I'm going to do is slide this into the center hole, and then push the braid up around there so it's making contact with the metal part around the outside, and then just tape it all up with electrical tape. And then I'm going to hook up the antenna and just see if it actually works. It should, but I just want to see if it's going to work. I just realized that on my balun, or whatever you want to call it, some people call them matching transformers, this is actually meant to slide onto the TV, which means this is a male connector. And this right here is a male connector too. So the two pieces didn't go together. Fortunately, I've got a bunch of these things laying around because I've done a bunch of cable work in my house. So I've got the right thing to put these two pieces together. I'm trying to do it one-handed here. But that's just going to go in there, like that. And now I can put the antenna cable that I'm using here onto the balun. And but so there's one more part that you need the little adapter too. So I've got the antenna just spread out here over the roof of my car, and I've got my radio tuned in to the farthest station away that I can normally hear, and it's coming in fine. So this antenna is working great the way it is. I just need to install it inside the car. All right, now back here in the trunk, hopefully this is going to be visible. Here's the amplifier and everything over on the right side of the trunk. If you go up forward here on the very far right side, you see a little opening where all those wires are going through. That's where I'm going to push this antenna cable, or actually this is the cable, TV cable. I want to be pushing that up through there and grabbing it and pulling it into the compartment behind the convertible top. And there it is. That was the easiest wire threading I've ever done on this car. I've gotten wires all the way from the back of the car to the front, but going right here into this compartment is pretty easy, the wire. I just pushed it in and it's right there. So now I'm going to make up the connector in here somewhere. And what I think I'm going to do to start off with, I'm going to lay the antenna underneath this thing and just see how it works. Okay, so here's what I'm doing to try to get rid of my silly alien beacon on the back right fender of my XK8. I'm here in the compartment where the convertible top stores. If you look right here, I've got a cable. This is just normal cable, TV cable. It's antenna cable. I've got it coming through a hole that goes right there. There's other cables right there. You can see them. There's other cables that go through and pass through. This is how they get some of the cables from the back of the car to the front. So I've just fed the cable down through there, and in the trunk I've got it attached to the antenna cable that goes up to the front of the car behind the CD player. And here's my cable. I've got just a regular cable, TV cable on it. And then right here I've installed what's called a balun or a matching transformer, and it goes to this kind of this ribbon cable looking stuff. And this right here forms a dipole antenna, and I'll show you where it goes in just a second. But first, let me plug this in, because this is going to end up laying right here. And I'm trying to do this one-handed. All of a sudden, you can hear my radio coming in. So now I'm going to tuck this back up here. I'll figure out a way to secure it a little bit better in a few minutes, but that's going to be tucked back up under there. In fact, this right here, this is the GPS antenna, but all this stuff is going to get tucked right back here, and then this right here gets laid on top of it, so it's going to be all hidden and protected from the hinge here. And I'll just tuck that stuff back in, turn down the radio. So now that runs, the cable runs underneath here, and then I cut a little slit in it right there, and it sticks out right there. And then I'm tucking it up under this little lip here, and I'm going to figure out a way to secure it. And I'm probably not in focus because the camera's so close, but I'm going to figure out a way to secure it underneath that lip. And as you can hear, I've got good radio signal. The ends of it actually wrap around here. Here's the ends of it. They wrap around, and I'm tucking them down into here. I'm going to have to figure out a way to secure them so that they don't get mangled when the convertible top goes up and down. And yeah, you can see the dirty headliner in my car. I need to fix that. I need to clean it. But on both sides here, the cable wraps around, the antenna wraps around, and I'm going to secure it in place. But I've tried it with the top up and the top down, and it sounds good. So hopefully this is going to work for me. To wrap this up, it's now a few days later, and what I've done, originally I had the antenna tucked up underneath this this lip here on the back of the seat, but I learned that there's actually some metal back there. When this antenna is pressed against that metal, I don't get as good reception as I do by pushing it down a little bit. So what I did, I pushed it down a little bit. All I did, I have it held in place with some little like clothing pins, you know, that you used for sewing or whatever. So they're just pushed right through the little center piece of the antenna, and they're holding it in place. I got a few of them spaced over there, and then it comes over here and it wraps around this corner here, and it goes up under this thing. And this thing is easy to remove. All you got to do is pop this piece off, and then take a oops, shit! I hope I didn't scratch my car. Take a Torx bit. This is a T50, and it fits right into that little thing. And you can then unscrew the seat belt. I don't know if I'm going to go through all this. I'll take this out of the video. And after the seat belt's unscrewed, you just let it drop down there, and then take a screwdriver, and there's two screws, one right here and one right here. And once the two screws are popped off, all you got to do, you can lift this up, and then it kind of slides forward a little bit. What was that? Oh, it was my little metal washer. I need to grab that. But you take that cover off, and then the antenna it just wraps around, and I've got it tucked up under here. I've got it held in place with some tape right there, and I don't know how well that's going to hold, but if it doesn't hold, I'll come back and re-secure it in some other way. It seems to be holding so far. The other side is the same way. The only difference is on the other side, there's a little wire that goes to the ultrasonic sensor for the airbag, and you have to be careful with that. But I mean, it's not going to pop the airbag or anything. You just need to not break the wire. But that's it. That's how my antenna is holding in place. And I'm getting almost as good reception. There's a couple areas where, in a couple stations, where it seems like I'm not getting as good reception as I used to, but 95% of the stations I listen to are coming in just as good as I used to.